My brother stole $13,200 from my 12-year-old daughter. Cash she'd saved for years, every birthday, every chore, every single penny. When she confronted him about it, he didn't apologize. He didn't even deny it at first. He slapped her, hard, right across the face, in front of me. Then he looked me dead in the eye and called my daughter a bastard kid. I locked eyes with him and said, "Enjoy your last few days of peace." He sneered, thinking I was bluffing. 1 week later, his entire life collapsed. Job gone, accounts frozen, reputation destroyed. And I was just getting started. You won't believe what happened next. Before we continue, if your family has ever betrayed you, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Your support keeps this channel alive, and trust me, this story gets so much worse. My name is Rebecca Stone. I'm 34 years old, and I'm a bank manager here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. But I didn't start here. I started at the very bottom, with nothing but a toddler daughter and a mountain of debt after my divorce. Nobody handed me anything. I worked brutal night shifts while my baby slept. I studied through exhaustion, surviving on coffee and determination. I climbed every single rung of that ladder through sheer force of will. My daughter Emma is now 12 years old, and she's the reason I kept fighting when everything felt impossible. From the time she could understand numbers, I taught her about saving money, about dreaming big, about rising above whatever circumstances try to hold you down. She's my heart, my purpose, my entire world. But my brother, my own flesh and blood, couldn't stand watching me succeed. His name is Derek Stone, and he's always been the golden child in our family. The one who could do no wrong. The one my parents worshipped no matter how many times he screwed up. Every time we'd meet for family gatherings, Derek would throw insults at me like daggers. Failed single mom, he'd call me. You'll never make anything of yourself, he'd sneer. But worse than the insults aimed at me were the ones he'd hurl at Emma. Bastard kid, he'd spit, knowing exactly how much it hurt. Knowing she could hear him. My parents, Thomas and Linda Stone, they ate it up. They'd laugh along with his cruel jokes, dismiss his behavior as just Derek being Derek. They doted on him constantly while treating my accomplishments like lucky accidents. To them, I was the daughter who chose hardship by getting divorced. And Emma, well, Emma was just baggage to them. An inconvenience. A reminder of my failure to keep a marriage together. That Friday night in late September, everything changed. Emma rushed home from school, her face pale as desert sand. Her hands were trembling. She checked her savings box that afternoon, a locked metal case she kept hidden in her closet. Inside was $13,200. Every single penny she'd saved over the years. Birthday money from distant relatives. Cash from doing odd jobs around the neighborhood. Money I'd given her for getting good grades. It was her dream fund, meant for a high-end computer setup so she could pursue her passion for digital art. But when Emma opened her closet that afternoon, the box was gone. "Mom, it's gone," she said, her voice cracking. My stomach dropped. I knew Emma would never misplace something that important. She was too careful, too organized, too much like me. We immediately went to my laptop and pulled up the security camera footage from our living room. I'd installed the cameras 6 months earlier after a string of break-ins in our neighborhood. The footage showed everything. There he was, my brother Derek, slipping through our front door that morning while Emma was at school and I was at work. He'd used a spare key I'd given him last year. I'd been away on a business trip and needed someone to check on the house, water the plants, make sure everything was secure. I trusted him. Big mistake. Derek knew our routine perfectly. He knew exactly when the house would be empty. The footage showed him moving quickly through our living room, heading straight for Emma's bedroom like he knew exactly where to look. 3 minutes later, he emerged clutching her metal savings box under his arm. Then he disappeared into the bright New Mexico sunlight. My fingers shook as I replayed the footage over and over. Watching my own brother betray us in high definition. Watching him steal from a child. Every instinct screamed at me to storm over to his apartment and confront him immediately. To make him feel the pain he'd caused. But I've learned that rushing in blindly gets you nowhere. It gets you hurt. It gets you manipulated. Emma stared at me with wide, terrified eyes. "Why would Uncle Derek do this?" she whispered. I had no answer for her yet. Instead, I grabbed my phone and called my best friend Natalie. Natalie Parker has been my closest friend since college. She's a family attorney, sharp as a knife and twice as tough. She's been with me through every storm, every crisis, every impossible situation. If anyone could help us pin Derek down legally, it was her. I texted her the security footage within minutes. She responded immediately, promising to review everything and start building a case. I exhaled slowly, trying to steady my racing heart. This wasn't just about the money, though $13,000 is a fortune to a 12-year-old. This was about trust. About family. About protecting my daughter from people who were supposed to love her. The next morning, I drove to my parents' house with Emma in the passenger seat and Natalie in the back. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. The dry desert air slipped through the cracked window, making the heavy silence even more oppressive. We weren't going there for a friendly family breakfast. We were going to confront Derek, the thief who stole from his own niece. I glanced at Emma. Her small hands were clenched tightly in her lap, eyes fixed straight ahead on the dashboard. She was scared but determined. I would never let her down. We stepped into my parents' familiar living room. The same worn couch I'd grown up with. The same family photos on the walls, most of them featuring Derek prominently while I barely appeared. Derek was already there, lounging in Dad's favorite armchair like he owned the place. Mom was in the kitchen making coffee. Dad sat reading the newspaper, barely glancing up when we walked in. I didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Derek," I said, my voice cold and controlled. "We need to talk about the $13,000 you stole from Emma." The room went silent. Mom dropped something in the kitchen with a loud clatter. Dad finally looked up from his newspaper, confusion crossing his face. Derek's expression shifted through several emotions in quick succession. Surprise, then calculation, then that familiar smirk. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said smoothly. "You must be confused, Becca." I pulled out my phone and played the security footage. Crystal clear video of Derek using my spare key, entering my house, and emerging with Emma's savings box. The timestamp showed the exact date and time. There was no room for denial. Mom rushed in from the kitchen, her face already defensive. "There has to be an explanation," she said quickly. "Derek wouldn't do something like that." Dad stood up, his expression hardening. But instead of directing his anger at Derek, he turned to me. "You're accusing your own brother of theft?" he said. "Over some security camera nonsense?" "It's not nonsense," Natalie interjected calmly. "This is clear evidence of breaking and entering and grand larceny. The amount stolen classifies this as a felony in New Mexico." Derek's smirk faltered slightly. That's when Emma spoke up, her voice small but steady. "Uncle Derek, why did you take my money?" she asked. "I saved for 3 years. That was for my computer." Derek's face twisted with contempt. What he said next changed everything. "Listen here, you little bastard," he snarled. "That money was sitting there doing nothing. I needed it more than some illegitimate kid needs a toy computer." Then, before I could react, Derek stood up and slapped Emma across the face. The sound echoed through the room like a gunshot. Emma stumbled backward, her hand flying to her reddening cheek, tears springing to her eyes. Time seemed to slow down. I saw my daughter's pain, her shock, her betrayal. I saw my brother's face, twisted with rage and contempt. I saw my parents frozen in place, not rushing to defend Emma, not condemning Derek's violence. Just standing there. Something inside me snapped. Not with rage, though rage was certainly there, but with absolute, crystalline clarity. I stepped between Derek and Emma, positioning myself as a barrier. My voice came out colder than I'd ever heard it. "Enjoy your last few days of peace," I said. "Because your life as you know it ends right now." Derek sneered at me. "Oh please," he spat. "What are you going to do, sue me? Good luck with that. I've got Mom and Dad on my side. You've got nothing." I looked at my parents, giving them one last chance to do the right thing. "Are you going to let him get away with this?" I asked. "He stole from your granddaughter and then assaulted her." Mom wrung her hands nervously. "I'm sure Derek didn't mean it," she said weakly. "Maybe Emma provoked him somehow." Dad nodded in agreement. "Boys will be boys," he said dismissively. "And that money was probably just a loan Derek needed. I'm sure he planned to pay it back." That's when I knew. My parents had made their choice, and it wasn't us. "Come on, Emma," I said quietly. "We're leaving." Natalie followed us out, her jaw set with determination. As we walked to the car, I could hear Derek laughing behind us. That laugh would haunt him soon enough. The moment we got home, Natalie and I went into full battle mode. She pulled out her laptop and started documenting everything. The security footage was rock-solid evidence, but we needed more. We needed to build an airtight case that would stand up in court and destroy any credibility Derek thought he had. Natalie made calls to contacts at the police department. I filed an official police report, providing the security footage, the timeline, Emma's testimony, everything. Within hours, 2 officers arrived at our house to take formal statements. They watched the footage multiple times, their expressions growing more serious with each viewing. "This is clear-cut theft," one officer said. "And the assault on a minor makes it even worse. We'll be issuing an arrest warrant." But I wasn't stopping there. See, I work at a bank. I have access to financial systems and records that most people don't even know exist. And I started digging into Derek's life. What I found was a house of cards waiting to collapse. Derek worked at a mid-sized tech company as a sales manager. Decent salary, respectable position, but nothing spectacular. Yet somehow, he was living way beyond his means. Luxury apartment in the nicest part of Albuquerque. Brand new sports car. Designer clothes. Expensive restaurants every weekend. I started pulling threads, carefully and legally, through my banking connections. I discovered Derek had 7 different credit cards, all maxed out. He owed over $80,000 in credit card debt alone. He had 3 personal loans in default. His car was about to be repossessed because he'd missed 4 payments. His rent was 2 months overdue. Derek was drowning in debt, living a completely fake lifestyle, presenting an image of success while barely keeping his head above water. That's why he stole from Emma. $13,000 was supposed to be his lifeline, a way to keep up appearances a little longer. But I was about to make sure that lifeline turned into an anchor. I compiled everything into a detailed report. Every debt, every missed payment, every lie. Then I did something I'd never done before in my career. I called Derek's employer. I spoke with their HR director, a woman named Patricia whom I'd met at a banking conference years ago. "Patricia," I said carefully, "I need to inform you about a situation involving one of your employees, Derek Stone. He's my brother, but I have evidence of criminal activity that directly impacts your company's reputation." I sent her everything. The theft video, the police report, the assault charges, and most importantly, evidence that Derek had been lying on his expense reports. He'd been claiming personal expenses as business expenses, defrauding the company of thousands of dollars. Patricia was silent for a long moment after reviewing everything. "Thank you for bringing this to our attention," she said finally. "We'll be conducting an internal investigation immediately." 3 days after I confronted Derek at my parents' house, the police arrested him at work. Uniformed officers walked into his office in the middle of the day and led him out in handcuffs. His coworkers watched in shock as he was perp-walked through the building. His mugshot hit the local news that evening. The headline read, "Local man arrested for theft and assault of minor niece." But that was just the beginning. Derek's company fired him immediately. Not just for the theft from Emma, but for the expense report fraud they discovered. They filed their own criminal charges against him for embezzlement. I used my banking connections to notify every single one of Derek's creditors about his arrest and job loss. Within 48 hours, his credit cards were all frozen. His bank accounts were locked pending the criminal investigation. His car got repossessed right out of the police station parking lot after he made bail. His landlord, learning about his arrest and financial situation, began eviction proceedings. Derek went from comfortable middle-class life to complete financial ruin in less than a week. And I made sure everyone knew exactly why it happened. I posted the security footage on social media, carefully edited to protect Emma's identity, but clearly showing Derek's theft. It went viral locally. Thousands of shares. Hundreds of comments condemning him. His reputation in Albuquerque was destroyed. My parents, of course, tried to defend him. Mom called me crying, begging me to drop the charges. "He made a mistake," she sobbed. "He's your brother. Family forgives family." "No," I said coldly. "Family doesn't steal from children. Family doesn't assault 12-year-olds. You chose him over your granddaughter, and now you all get to live with that choice." Dad tried a different approach, showing up at my house and demanding I stop this crusade. "You're destroying your brother's life over money," he accused. "No," I corrected him. "Derek destroyed his own life by making terrible choices. I'm just making sure he faces the consequences. And you're not welcome in my home anymore. I want my key back. Right now." Dad sputtered with indignation, but he handed over the spare key. That was the last time I spoke to my father. The court case took 3 months to work through the system. Natalie represented us pro bono, determined to see justice done. Derek hired a lawyer using money my parents somehow scraped together, probably by taking out loans they couldn't afford. His lawyer tried every trick in the book. Claimed the security footage was tampered with. Suggested Emma had given him permission to take the money. Argued that the slap was accidental, that Derek had been gesturing and accidentally made contact. None of it worked. The evidence was too strong, too clear, too overwhelming. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Grand larceny, breaking and entering, assault on a minor. The judge sentenced Derek to 18 months in prison, followed by 3 years of probation. He was also ordered to pay full restitution to Emma, including interest. As the bailiff led Derek away, he turned and looked at me one last time. The smirk was gone. The arrogance was gone. All that remained was a broken man who'd finally faced consequences for his actions. I felt no satisfaction in that moment, only a grim sense of justice. My parents sat in the courtroom throughout the trial, glaring at me like I was the villain in this story. After the sentencing, Mom approached me in the hallway. "Are you happy now?" she hissed. "Your brother is going to prison because of you." "No," I replied calmly. "Derek is going to prison because he stole from a child and assaulted her. You had a choice to support your granddaughter, and you chose him instead. That's on you. Live with it." That was the last conversation I had with my mother. Emma and I walked out of that courthouse into the bright Albuquerque sunshine. Natalie walked beside us, her hand on Emma's shoulder. "It's over, sweetie," Natalie said gently. "He can't hurt you anymore." Emma nodded, but I could see the weight of everything in her eyes. She'd learned terrible lessons about family, about betrayal, about how the people who are supposed to protect you can sometimes be the ones who hurt you most. Over the next few weeks, we focused on healing. Emma started seeing a therapist who specialized in trauma and family conflict. I made sure she knew that what happened wasn't her fault, that she deserved better, that real family protects and supports, not harms and steals. The $13,000 was eventually recovered and returned to Emma through the restitution process. It took months of court-mandated payments from Derek's prison job earnings, supplemented by seizure of some assets he tried to hide. Emma got every penny back, plus interest. But more than the money, Emma got something invaluable. She learned that standing up for yourself matters. That justice, while slow, can prevail. That some people will choose to do the right thing even when it's hard. She threw herself back into her art with renewed passion. Her digital drawings became more vibrant, more emotional, more powerful. Each piece seemed to process what she'd been through, transforming pain into beauty. She set up online accounts to sell her art, and to my amazement, people started buying. Small commissions at first, then bigger projects. Her savings grew again, this time earned entirely through her own talent and hard work. I watched her count every dollar with the same careful focus she'd had before, but now there was something different in her eyes. Strength. Resilience. A knowledge that she could survive the worst and come out fighting. I kept my position as bank manager, but I was more selective about who I trusted. I changed all my locks. I updated my security system. I built walls around our little family unit, protecting what mattered most. Natalie remained our constant supporter, checking in regularly, joining us for dinners, becoming the family we chose rather than the family we were born into. She reminded us again and again that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up when things get hard. Who fights for you? Who stays? 1 year after Derek's conviction, I ran into my mother at the supermarket. Her cart was piled high with groceries, and she froze when she saw me. Her eyes darted away as if I were a stranger. I nodded politely but didn't stop to talk. There was nothing left to say. Emma and I had walked away from that part of our lives. Mom, Dad, Derek, all of them. We hadn't looked back. The betrayal, the accusations, their refusal to see the truth, all of it had built a wall too high to climb. We'd chosen to move forward, to build something new in this desert city. And I wasn't about to let the past pull us under again. Emma is 13 now, and she's grown in ways I couldn't have predicted. The theft shook her, yes, but it also lit a fire inside her. She's more determined, more focused, more aware of her own strength. She picks up jobs around the neighborhood. Dog walking, yard work, helping elderly neighbors with technology. She sells her digital art online, building a small but loyal customer base. Her sketches, once simple doodles, now burst with color and emotion. Each one is a step toward her dream of becoming a professional artist. She set up a new savings box, tucked safely in her room, and I watch her count every dollar with a focus that makes my heart swell with pride. She's not just rebuilding her fund for a computer. She's rebuilding her trust in herself. And I make sure she knows I'll always have her back, no matter what. Our life in Albuquerque has settled into a rhythm that feels like freedom. I work long hours at the bank, but I come home to a house filled with Emma's laughter and the sound of her digital pen scratching against her tablet. We spend evenings together, cooking simple meals, watching movies, building memories that belong only to us. These are the moments that matter. Not the toxic family dinners where Derek would mock us. Not the obligatory holiday gatherings where we were treated as lesser. Just us, building our own version of family. The pain of the past is still there, a faint scar, but it doesn't define us anymore. We're more than the betrayal, more than the loss. Standing in that supermarket, watching Mom walk away, I felt no anger. Only peace. I'd chosen my daughter, my truth, my path. And that choice had set us free. The lesson was clear as desert sky. Justice and loyalty build a family worth keeping. Anything less is just a name, just shared DNA with no real meaning behind it. I thought about Derek sometimes, not out of longing but curiosity. I didn't know where he was after his release from prison. What kind of life he'd managed to scrape together. Whether he'd learned anything from his fall. His conviction, his lost job, his frozen accounts, his destroyed reputation, all of it was the consequence of his own choices. I felt no guilt, only a quiet resolve to keep him out of our lives permanently. Emma doesn't ask about him or about her grandparents. She's moved on, her heart set on her art, her future, her dreams. I envy her resilience, but I'm learning from it too. We're writing a new story, one where we define our own worth. As the months pass, I watch Emma blossom. She joins an art club at school, her confidence growing with every piece she shares. She shows me her latest drawings. Vibrant desert landscapes that capture the beauty of New Mexico. Bold portraits that seem to look into your soul. Abstract pieces that express emotions she's still learning to name. I marvel at her talent, her strength, her ability to turn pain into something beautiful. We talk about her plans constantly. About college, about art school, about a world beyond Albuquerque. I save a little extra each month, tucking it away for her future, determined to give her every chance I never had. She'll go to the best art school she can get into. She'll have opportunities I could only dream of at her age. And she'll do it knowing her mother fought for her when everyone else walked away. That's the legacy I want to leave. Not bitterness about the family who betrayed us, but pride in the strength we found together. Some people might think I was too harsh on Derek. That family should forgive family. That blood is thicker than water. Those people don't understand what it's like to watch your child be hurt by someone who's supposed to love them. They don't understand the rage that comes with betrayal from your own blood. They don't understand that some actions are unforgivable, not because you're cruel, but because protecting your child comes before everything else. Derek didn't just steal money. He stole Emma's sense of security, her trust in family, her belief that adults would protect her. He physically assaulted a child, his own niece, because she dared to ask for her money back. And my parents, they enabled all of it by choosing to defend him instead of protecting their granddaughter. Those aren't people you forgive and forget. Those are people you cut out of your life completely, no matter how much it hurts. Because keeping them around hurts worse. I chose Emma. I chose justice. I chose to teach my daughter that standing up for yourself isn't optional, it's necessary. And I would make that choice again 1,000 times over. Natalie told me once, over coffee about 6 months after the trial, that she'd never seen someone fight for their child the way I fought for Emma. You burned every bridge, she said. You destroyed relationships with your entire family. You risked your own peace for her justice. That's real love. I thought about that for a long time. Was it worth it? Losing my parents, my brother, the family I grew up with? The answer came easily. Yes. 1,000 times yes. Because Emma is my real family. She's the one who matters. And any relationship that requires me to tolerate abuse, theft, and assault isn't a relationship worth keeping. I sleep well at night knowing I did right by my daughter. I wake up every morning to her smile, her ambitions, her dreams. That's worth more than any toxic family connection could ever be. The story could end there, with us moving forward into a brighter future. But there's one more piece I need to share. About 6 months after I ran into Mom at the supermarket, I received a letter. It came in the mail, handwritten on cheap paper, postmarked from a facility 2 hours north of Albuquerque. It was from Derek. I almost threw it away without reading it. But curiosity got the better of me. The letter was short, barely a page. His handwriting, once confident and bold, now looked shaky and uncertain. Rebecca, it began. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know I have no right to ask for anything from you. But I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. Prison gave me a lot of time to think about what I did, about the person I was. I stole from a child. I hit her. I called her horrible names. I destroyed my own life, and I hurt people who didn't deserve it. Mom and Dad won't talk to me anymore. They blame me for tearing the family apart. They're struggling financially because of the legal fees they paid for my defense. Dad had a heart attack last month. They think it's because of the stress I caused. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that you were right. Everything you did, every consequence I faced, I deserved all of it. Emma deserved better than what I gave her. You deserved better than the brother I was. I hope she's okay. I hope she got her computer and is making art like she always wanted. Tell her I'm sorry, even though sorry isn't enough. Derek. I read the letter 3 times, looking for manipulation, for hidden agendas, for some sign that this was just another game. But all I found was genuine remorse from a broken man. I didn't respond to the letter. I didn't reach out or offer forgiveness or promise reconciliation. Some bridges, once burned, stay burned. But I did file the letter away, thinking that maybe someday, if Emma ever wants to know, I can show her that her uncle finally understood the weight of what he'd done. For now, though, we keep moving forward. Emma recently got accepted into a prestigious summer art program at the University of New Mexico. It's competitive, expensive, and exactly what she needs to take her talent to the next level. We're making it work, scraping together the tuition, finding scholarships, doing whatever it takes. Because that's what real family does. We show up for each other. We fight for each other's dreams. We protect what matters most. Last week, Emma sold her largest commission yet. A digital portrait for a local business, $500. She came home with the check, her eyes shining with pride and disbelief. Mom, she said, holding up the check. This is real. People actually want my art. Yes, baby, I replied, pulling her into a hug. Because you're talented, hardworking, and you never gave up, even when things got hard. She pulled back and looked at me seriously. We got through it, didn't we? She said. Uncle Derek, the trial, everything. We survived it. We did more than survive, I told her. We won, not just in court, but in life. We chose each other, we stood up for what was right, and we built something better. That night, I lay in bed thinking about everything that had happened over the past year and a half. The theft, the confrontation, the betrayal by my parents, the court case, the rebuilding. It had been the hardest period of my life since the divorce. But it had also been the most clarifying. I learned that justice matters more than keeping the peace. That protecting your child outweighs maintaining toxic family connections. That some people will never see your worth, and that's their loss, not yours. I learned that family is a choice, not an obligation. That blood doesn't excuse abuse or theft or violence. That walking away from people who hurt you isn't weakness, it's strength. And most importantly, I learned that my daughter is watching everything I do. She's learning how to stand up for herself by watching me stand up for her. She's learning that her worth isn't determined by what others think or say. She's learning that justice, while sometimes slow and painful, is worth fighting for. Those are lessons that will serve her for the rest of her life. Lessons more valuable than any amount of money I could give her. So, to anyone listening who's facing a similar situation, here's what I want you to know. Family isn't about DNA. It's about love, loyalty, and protection. If someone in your family hurts you or your children, you don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them a relationship. You don't owe them anything except the consequence of their own actions. Stand up for yourself. Stand up for your kids. Cut out the toxic people, even if they're blood relatives. Build your own family from people who actually love and support you. And never, ever apologize for demanding basic respect and safety. Some people will call you harsh, unforgiving, cruel even. Let them talk. They don't live your life. They didn't watch their child get slapped by a family member. They didn't have to choose between keeping the peace and seeking justice. You did. And you chose right. Emma and I are proof that you can survive family betrayal and come out stronger. We're proof that choosing yourself and your children over toxic family is not only okay, it's necessary. We're proof that justice, even when it costs you relationships, is worth pursuing. Our story isn't over yet. Emma has years of growth ahead of her. Art school, college, a career, all of it waiting for her. And I'll be there every step of the way, supporting her, fighting for her, protecting her. Because that's what real mothers do. That's what real family does. If your family has ever betrayed you, if you've had to make the hard choice between keeping toxic people in your life or protecting yourself and your children, I want to hear your story. Drop it in the comments below. Share how you got through it. Let others know they're not alone. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if Emma's story resonated with you. And share it with anyone who needs to hear that it's okay to walk away from family that hurts you. This is Rebecca Stone, signing off. Remember, justice and loyalty build a family worth keeping. Everything else is just noise. Thanks for watching.